here's your hosts of Truth Matters, Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie, seeking truth and promoting liberty.
Good day and welcome, America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue for Truth Matters. My co-host is Angeline Marie, and this report is a follow-up, and I'm going to be doing many follow-ups to the Trump Epstein Files, and I think that's what we have to call it now. It's not just the Epstein Files. And yes, there's a cast of characters that go well beyond Trump, and some that we know absolutely are guilty of sin. But more and more is coming out about what Trump knew and what he was involved with and how long he was involved with Epstein. And it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. I want to reflect on the bombastic Bonkers Bondi. Now, everybody in that cabinet, for the most part, the Trump administration cabinet, want to play to the emperor, tyrant Trump. So she goes in, she's a trained lawyer, former state AG from Florida, now the Attorney General of the United States, and she understands separation of powers and that there's more than just executive power, and that she, like other cabinet members, from time to time will be called in to account for their department, their actions, their, cases, whatever. And of course, she's not in compliance with the Epstein Transparency Act, and there is congressional oversight, and there is legal authority to impose sanctions. And they absolutely have the right to oversee the Justice Department. But, they're about the only thing that's stopping us from abject tyranny, because there are no independent agencies under Trump. They all act on his behalf, and it's all about this revenge tour, and it's about pushing the limits of authoritarianism. And you may not like to hear this, but this is true. This is what's happening. So Bonkers Bombastic Bondi, and yes, I'm a talk show host, so I can name call and name tag, and I've done this for many years. I still do not use cuss words or nasty slang, which many hosts do. I don't resort to that. And I'm just astonished. People on the radio, people on podcasts, streaming, it's actually quite disgusting. Yeah, I'd like to know why are you dropping F-bombs? And I'm not even going to call out there's just too many of them that are doing this. Decides to perform for Trump. And that's what it was. It was a performance to say, maybe I can have better name calling. Maybe I can yell and scream. And the fact of the matter is, she is there to testify. Now, let's say she and her U.S. attorneys bring someone into a deposition, or questioning in terms of an interrogation, they expect answers and they expect compliance. Same goes for her, because she has to answer to Congress on these matters. So it's not like she's being vilified or punished. She needs to be, because she's not in compliance with the Congressional Act, and the president signed it. Yeah, her president, tyrant Trump. But Bondi's, even MAGA influencers, even MAGA media, they're even saying, what was that? Now, if she's in a debate setting and she wants to go bonkers like Trump, then fine. But this is a congressional hearing. Now, if someone's impugning your personal integrity or honor and maybe crossing the line, then you defend yourself with all the vim and vigor. But you should be defending yourself with most of those questions from Republicans and Democrats with the facts. Talking about the Dow Jones and the economy, it has nothing to do with the Epstein Files. Totally dishonest and just a shameful and disgusting performance. Now, you do know part of the reason Bondi was hired, just like many of the cabinet members, she was, a Fox News contributor. It's like casting call, oh, did you ever work for Fox News? Were you a contributor for Fox News? Do you have blonde hair? Do you have nice legs? Do you have lips like the press secretary? These are actually sadly accurate, because these are the things that are important to Donald Trump. So you have Patel, cashing in on, taking all these private flights to meet his young girlfriend and having private security for her. And, it just gets crazier and crazier. And he lied. And I saw the clips of his congressional testimony where one of the Democrat questioners asked him, does Trump's name appear in the Epstein files maybe 1,000 times? No. How about 500? No. How about 100? No. How about 50? No. Let's try over 1 million times? I mean, and Patel said he saw the files and there's nothing there and there's no one to prosecute. And Bondi, during her hearing, they asked her, could you apologize for the survivors that are in the gallery there as to why you haven't taken action against these predators that inflicted such harm on them, and she would not apologize, B, she would not recognize them, and C, she wouldn't even turn around and look at them. I've seen interviews where people said, Pam Bondi was actually, before she came on to the Trump team, was a reasonably nice person. And it's funny how she attacks these people for, how intelligent or, they're lousy or loser lawyers. And, she was never known as the greatest attorney general in the state of Florida. She was never known as the brightest blonde on the block. I think that someone that has, say, average or just reasonable intelligence and performance grades, you kind of stay away from attacking other people that are actually brighter than you and more accomplished than you. But that's just my opinion. And then you have Bongino. Bongino said he reviewed the tapes and he's absolutely convinced that Epstein committed suicide. Not so fast, Dan. Now that in the Epstein files, CBS News and other news organizations and even MAGA influencers have analyzed and have gone over these tapes, and there's just some crazy stuff. I at some point I'll get into the weeds and go into more detail, and there's a lot of podcasts that are doing that already. But I just wanted to give you a broader view of this. There's a orange blob that's coming up the stairs at a time that they say nobody is permitted, or there's nobody that would be going up those stairs to Epstein's cell around that time of night. And you got guards that are sleeping, guards that are not, checking on inmates in that segregation unit that are allegedly possibly on suicide watch. And so this image is caught. You can see the orange, and I talked about this in a podcast previously. Somebody's going up those stairs. And then we now find out that it was that they said that Epstein's body was moved the day before he was reported dead. Then they talk about he was hanged, and they're saying, well, why did the hospital send back the clothing he was wearing when they said he was found with no shirt? And then there was an inmate that was his roommate at the time that said that he had a murder conviction and was considered, he was like a rogue, violent cop, a former cop. And he said, because I know they put me in there because they knew how violent I could be. So they were not trying to keep him safe. So Dr. Bodden and other pathologists that have looked at the autopsy and the autopsy report say that all indications are he was strangled. He didn't hang himself. It wasn't a voluntary suicide. But Dan Bongino told us with great certainty, I seen the video, and there's nobody that went in his cell, and it is a suicide. How does he get rewarded? He quits the Trump administration to go back to make bigger money and to not have to work as hard, doing his podcast, and then he gets hired. Not only the company he worked for in terms of the radio show, now he does a podcast version and Rumble through Westwood One, but Fox News has rehired him as a Fox News contributor. Now, one of the first podcasts he did, right prior to it, he said, I will not be discussing my year at the FBI, so don't ask me any questions. So wait a minute. As a talk show host, he was asking all the tough questions of the politicos and the politicians and the newsmakers and all this. But we, the listeners, the audience, the viewers, cannot ask Dan about these discrepancies at the FBI. And so now he's making big money to talk about other people and their issues, but Dan doesn't want to talk about his own. So, I mean, you talk about inept and corrupt, and then these people get rewarded. And in the Epstein Files, you find out that now we're finding out there were 9, 10, 10-year-olds. I'm just astonished at these cast of characters that are betraying the trust of the American public, not doing the right thing.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
This is Tom Donahue for Truth Matters. Join me and Angeline Marie weekly Saturday nights as we shed light and insight on the controversies, cover-ups, and conspiracies. Visit the show website, truthmattersradio.net, truthmattersradio.net for show times, how to listen, and podcast downloads. That's truthmattersradio.net, truthmattersradio.net. And that's truthmattersradio.net.
I am an American veteran. I'm proud to have served this country. Helping veterans is something all Americans can participate in, and it's as simple as donating an old car that you have sitting around. When you call the Veteran Car Donation Program, they'll explain how their program works, and then arrange a time they can come and pick up your vehicle for free. Running or not, it doesn't matter. They take cars, trucks, motorcycles, or vans. Show your support by donating your car and get a tax deduction in the process. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program right now. They'll come and pick your car up for free, and you'll get a tax deduction in the process. Call the number we're about to give you right now. Thank you, and God bless America.
Call 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. Call right now, 800-925-1596.
I have a friend, about 50, had a bad accident and couldn't go back to work. If you're between the ages of 49 and 63 and can't go back to your job because of a physical or mental disability, Social Security could pay you as much as $3,800 a month. If you or a family member is unable to work because of a disability, call the Social Security Disability Helpline. Our team will give you a free case review and explain to you how much money you're entitled to, and you won't pay anything unless we get you benefits. See if you or a family member is entitled to close to $45,000 a year in Social Security disability funds. Remember, this is not something for people over the age of 65. If you're under 65 and can't work, call now.
800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. That's 800-942-1395.
Welcome back. Tom Donahue with Angeline Marie. Truth matters. It truly does matter here. And why wouldn't the truth matter? And that's why the Epstein Files matters. Both the Republican and Democrat that were the lead on pushing for the Epstein Transparency Act, which passed congressionally almost unanimously, except for one vote. And Trump signed it begrudgingly. They brought up the term, we may have to call this the Trump-Epstein Files or the Epstein-Trump Files. And when I recorded this a few days ago, I already labeled it that. Now, I'm not saying that they borrowed from me or anything of that, but it seems like we're in sync, that people are now realizing, but over 1 million times, and Trump loves to take stock and ownership and renaming rights. He wants to rename airports after himself, and Penn Station in New York, and the Kennedy Trump Center for the Performing Arts. Well, then let's go along with Trump, and he likes things being named after him, and we're going to call this the Trump Epstein Files, and whether you like it or you don't. Angeline, what do you think of that?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up.
Over 1 million times, and this was revised from the early on.
It was 5,300 first, and we went from 5,300 to the million, and that blew my mind. That was last week, told me that now. So I started looking into why would this be, and from what I could tell from my research, they're calling him the 2006 whistleblower, that they're trying to say he was one of the first whistleblowers on Epstein with his cooperation with investigators. And
But guess what, though, on this, which is even further astonishing, he said that he knew that there was wrongdoing and he wanted to report it. Well, if he knew there was wrongdoing, that totally contradicts the fact he said he didn't know nothing and saw nothing and he barely knew him.
But everybody,
which version is the actual true tell story?
Yes. But everybody, Tom, that you mentioned in your report, which was very good, by the way, every one of those people before he took office, they admitted early on that there with the Epstein debacle in total. They were all, when we get in, Patel said it, Bongino said it, Bondi said it, Trump said it. And then they all get in, and all of a sudden, they're all in a denial. So what is behind that? What changed, Tom? What changed?
Well, that's the $1 million question, and it with the million times mentioned. The fact is that Trump says it's a hoax, and he said that now that the files have been released, and Bondi's claiming now in total, which is a blatant lie, and I do call her the bombastic Bonkers Bondi. As her performance art failed miserably during her congressional hearing. And the fact is that she was only trying to please one person, and that was tyrant Trump. Trump says it's a hoax. He's absolved of all wrongdoing based on these files. And I don't know if there's anyone except for Maxwell and Epstein that's mentioned more than Donald Trump.
One of the theories I heard, and, this is really a long shot in my opinion, but one of them is, could it be that they're almost doing like a takeaway? So at first they said, okay, we're going to show these things. And now they're like pulling it away so that the voice of the people, the cry of the people will get louder. And then they say, okay, well, we're going to do this. We're not going to do all this redaction and whatever when we release them. And then they'll say, look, we had no choice. The people want this. But, all in all, how the New World Order people have been pushing this civil war. I think they're going to get a civil war. But guess what? I don't think it's going to be color versus color, ethnicity versus ethnicity. I think it could very well be all on this Epstein business, because we're seeing this reaches left and right paradigms. So I think that people are going to be up in arms just because of what's gone on with this whole Epstein.
Well, they're not just the fact that they're going to be. They are up in arms. I mean, you're seeing the MAGA influencers, backing off. You're seeing even conservative Republicans backing off. You're seeing, of course, the liberal progressives backed off from Trump. But the thing is, this thing is cratering. Trump's approval ratings are below 35% now. The latest polling that they did on popularity of presidents, they found that Trump was at the virtual bottom with just a couple presidents. Everything is going south. And the fact is, the only thing that we're waiting for, at least I'm waiting for, and I'll admit to that, is the Trump hearings that will take place next year. And I believe he will be multi-time impeached, and he may even be tried and convicted. But I think he'll be forced to resign if his health holds up. This is not going away. He is not the Teflon Don. He's a destructive destroyer Don. And I do use some other terms for him that begin with D too. That would be dangerous, dastardly, deranged, diabolical Don. This is, just a terrible situation. and to make light of the survivors and the victims. Bonkers Bombastic Bondi in that hearing would not address, would not look at, and would not apologize to the survivors for the lack of attention in terms of investigation and prosecution of these known pedophile predators.
Well, I never had it. There's no love loss on my side for Bondi or Patel ever, but I'll tell you the biggest disappointment is Bongino. All these people have lost credibility with me, but he is the biggest disappointment, and I think a hypocrite at that. I mean,
well, there's no doubt. Bongino, bails on Trump, okay, and had issues with Bondi, but never said that it was relating to the files or the fact that there was a cover-up. And he said before he took back the reins of the podcast and going into the radio sphere and now television with being a Fox News contributor, again, being rewarded in the MAGA media, the Fox Murdoch media, that said that he's not going to discuss his year at the FBI. That's what he said originally. And that and there was nothing there for him to discuss. Now he's saying that he was a crusader in trying to bring to light these things. The fact is, the MAGA influencers in the MAGA world pointed out to the hypocrisy of Bongino, the fact that he said it was case closed and that there was nobody to investigate. And he signed off on that as deputy director of the FBI. So he is a liar. He's a hypocrite and an absolute total fraud.
And if there's no there in his own words, then why does Fox even need him on there to talk about this? He said there's nothing there, that, he was, there was suicide and there's nothing there. And
well, he didn't go back to Fox to talk about that. They're using him to talk about, Savannah Guthrie's mother and ICE, and he's. I mean, when you're a Fox News contributor, they see you as kind of an authority in certain areas, and your expertise to analyze and break down that news story. And so Bongino's getting paid, I'm sure because of others and he was there at Fox before, that probably over $1 million to voice his opinion about things, but he will not express his opinion, regarding the Epstein files.
We got about a minute or so left, but something I wanted to talk about, because you mentioned this, I think, at the end of your report about Epstein's death. I honestly don't necessarily think he's dead, but beyond that, I heard this expert this week talking about the marks that they found on his neck. And this guy was saying when it's truly suicide, that you'll see like a singular line, but that they found almost like what looked like a double strand cross mark, and that shows signs of struggle. So I just thought I'd
they said that Dr. Bodden and others that said that it was homicide, not suicide, and it was but through strangulation, not self it wasn't a rope or it wasn't himself. There's also conflict of whether there was his shirt was tied around his neck. That when he came back from the hospital, they said he was wearing a shirt. There's just so many discrepancies, so many flaws in these reports of the Trump Epstein files.
I have a friend, about 50, had a bad accident and couldn't go back to work. If you're between the ages of 49 and 63 and can't go back to your job because of a physical or mental disability, Social Security could pay you as much as $3,800 a month. If you or a family member is unable to work because of a disability, call the Social Security Disability Helpline. Our team will give you a free case review and explain to you how much money you're entitled to, and you won't pay anything unless we get you benefits. See if you or a family member is entitled to close to $45,000 a year in Social Security disability funds. Remember, this is not something for people over the age of 65. If you're under 65 and can't work, call now.
800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. That's 800-942-1395.
For nearly 250 years, Americans have enjoyed a level of civility and prosperity. Wicked globalist operatives threaten it all. And the chaos around us is the result of an underlying spiritual war. See through the deception and discover the root of the world's conflicts. A startling new book from the host of the Truth Seekers radio show, Soulless Society. Available on Amazon in softcover, Kindle ebook, and Audible. Visit www.soullesssocietybook.com.
Learn how thousands of smart homeowners are investing about $1 to avoid expensive home repair bills. John, a former non-customer, said, "My air conditioner broke and I had to spend $1,900 to fix it." Jeff, a customer, wrote, "My air conditioner broke and I got a new one at no out-of-pocket cost." Mary, a former non-customer, wrote, "My heating system stopped running. I had to spend $3,000 to get a new one." Lisa, a customer, wrote, "My heater stopped working. I got it fixed at no out-of-pocket cost." For about $1 a day, you can have all the major appliances and systems in your home guaranteed fixed or replaced. Call now. If the lines are busy, please call back.
Call the Home Warranty Hotline now at 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. That's 800-238-9182.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now at 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. That's 800-810-2191.
Welcome back, Tom Donahue, Angeline Marie, Truth Matters. So glad you are with us, and we appreciate your attendance today. Your listenership always matters and matters so greatly to us. And Angeline, you're going to run a clip or two here, and it relates to, and again, the hits keep coming, whether it's the Epstein Files or Erica Kirk. It's just unbelievable. You and I were in sync because we were listening to a couple different sources. One happened to be Candace Owens. The fact is that Erica Kirk had some younger friends that people didn't seem to know about. And maybe you could tell us a little more before we run the clip.
All right. So this is about Erica Kirk and this girl that she had a text relationship with. And Candace Owens plays the audio from a girl named Nissy Social. She has a YouTube channel. And she has some pretty good information, and Candace introduces it, and this girl is kind of giving the background of this relationship and how it started. And just a warning, I cut out a lot of the things that I thought I couldn't air them. They were so bad I couldn't air them. But when we come back and talk about it, I might allude to maybe what the girl was talking about. But in any case, here's the first part. And again, this is Candace, and she introduces Nissy.
And they're discussing actual text messages that were saved.
Right. These are actual texts. And just real quick, in the video, Candace actually shows a screenshot.
That's right.
Of this thread. So here we go.
Actually cut to Nissy here, who's going to unpack it for you. And to give you a little bit of background, it's 2013, And therefore, Erica has just completed her year as Miss Arizona. And she's 25 years old at the time, Erica is. And now you're going to learn how she met Jillian. Take a listen.
Back in 2013, Erica was 25 years old, and she was in a relationship with a basketball player named Joshua Harrelson. So at the time, he was living in Michigan, and Erica moved out there to be with him. On the evening of September 15, 2013, Joshua Harrelson and Erica met a 15-year-old girl named Jillian Falcon. And I know this because Jillian tweeted about it. At 3:53 p.m., Jillian tweeted that she was out for sushi with her friend. And 2 hours later, she tweeted, just met Miss Arizona and Josh Harrelson, heart eyes emoji. Now, I'm not sure if Jillian coincidentally bumped into Erica and Joshua or if they were introduced. What I do know is that Jillian had a friend, and the friend's grandparents were renting a home to Erica in Michigan. So I'm not entirely sure if all of these people just bumped into each other coincidentally at the sushi restaurant or if they were formally introduced. But nonetheless, they met, and Erica struck up what I view as a very odd relationship with the 15-year-old girl named Jillian.
So I can help clarify. I can build on that. Like I said, I spoke with Jillian, and that information, part of that information is very accurate. It was about a payment for rent, and that is how Jillian meets Erica Kirk. She opens the door. She's presumably living with or visiting her boyfriend at the time, and she sees Erica Kirk, and she thinks, oh my gosh, this girl, 25-year-old girl, is so beautiful. And Erica is extremely kind to her, and they start speaking. And somehow, and Jillian does not recall how this transpired, somehow during this rent arrangement, Erica and her exchange numbers. Okay. So what happens next is they begin messaging each other, a texting relationship, and across social media, making comments on one another's posts. And in the beginning, it seems fine enough, I guess. The conversation is polite, maybe something that you might expect to see between someone who has some level of notoriety or fame and one of their fans over social media. But then it picks up, just as Nicey indicates. It picks up, and I am going to allow you to listen to her explain what then transpires. And I would also, again, like to reinforce the fact that this girl, Jillian, is 15 years old and Erica is 25. It's worth mentioning that at this point in her biography, Erica is also working with sex trafficking charities. This is that year where she says that she got involved with a sex trafficking charity over in China. I'll have more for you on that next week, but take it away, Nicey.
On February 13th, 2014, Jillian replied to one of Erica's tweets by saying, at Erica Francevy, gorgeous as always. A few hours later, she then tweeted, why did at Erica Francevy just send me this?
Okay, so it just ended. Why did at Erica Francevy just send me this? The just send me this was on or around just before Valentine's Day. So she's asking, what is it that Erica sent? Well, what Erica sent was a text. And I can't say word for word because it's too dirty for this program. But basically, it had to do with touching a body part for Valentine's Day. So that was the first one. And now we'll pick it up from there.
Laughing emojis. On June 7, 2014, Jillian shared this tweet. This has to be the most heartfelt compliment I've ever gotten. And she attached a screenshot of her conversation with Erica. So Jillian says, thank you. Erica says, you have the most stunning features. Jillian says, best compliment ever. Erica says, your eyes, your lips, your skin, you're absolutely beautiful. Jillian responds with the crying emoji, you're making me cry. In February of 2014, Jillian went on a family trip to Puerto Rico, and Erica was liking and commenting on her Instagram posts. So Jillian posted this photo of the beach, and Erica says, unreal gorgeous. And then Jillian responds, this is by far my favorite picture I took. My mom wants to get it blown up at Erica Francevy. Erica responds, I could see why, boo. Jillian responds, so perfect at Erica Francevy. Erica then responds, ... yes, I know you are.
So just before we go back to Candace, she says, your eyes, your lips, your skin. Now, this is a 25-year-old woman talking to a 15-year-old girl. And she also, a couple of the other things I cut out was something, is really related to almost like a lesbian relationship where she says she doesn't swing for the other team yet. And then there was another one that was pretty nasty that I would never put in the show. But anyway, this is the kind of talk this woman is doing with this 15-year-old. And here's just a real quick irony, Tom. Like I said, Candace had a screenshot of the text thread. And what I noticed is after Nicey's report, there was a piece of the thread that was at the very top that Candace nor Nicey, neither of them mentioned it. But in the screenshot, it was almost this back and forth where there was some kind of a scuffle between the two. If this was in fact part of their thread, it was alarming to me that nobody caught that. And anyway, let's go back to Candace.
To follow that with a little bit of silence, I just want us to all contemplate it. Let's actually contemplate it for the people who are going to try to explain it, the Erica splainers, who are going to be like, that's not weird. No. What? Never been a 25-year-old sending chocolate-covered strawberries to a 15-year-old? That's not weird. You guys are haters. No, what? Oh, come on. You've never, as a 25-year-old, decided to message a 15-year-old about their lips and their skin and how perfect they are. You never decided to message them when they posted a photo of them with a person that's their age and said, no new friends. Almost like territorial, or that's obviously all just a joke or something like that. By the way, just in general, going back to how they met, I'm trying to rationalize in my head, under what scenario, if a 15-year-old, if you opened the door and a 15-year-old was there, would you exchange numbers with them? Like, I'm trying to rationalize it. Maybe if they were with their parent and they were like, the parents were like, he was looking for a job. Like, I don't know if you need like a babysitter. You guys want to go to dinner for a couple of hours, sort of a thing, maybe. But I'd probably take the parents' number.
So this goes on for about an hour. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and I was surprised at a lot of the exchanges from Erica. I could see a 15-year-old girl maybe saying some of the things, but for a 25-year-old woman knowing she's speaking to a 15-year-old girl, it was pretty shocking.
And this was ongoing for quite some time. This wasn't like just a few minor exchanges. And the reason that this has credibility is because they have the actual text thread. Candace followed up with talking to, I would say, the groomed victim here, because this is a form of victimizing a minor. That's the way I view it. This is not, a pure innocence by any means. It's completely inappropriate and distasteful and disgusting.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it more after the break.
Back, Tom Donahue, Angeline Marie, Truth Matters, because it really does here.
For nearly 250 years, Americans have enjoyed a level of civility and prosperity. Wicked globalist operatives threaten it all. And the chaos around us is the result of an underlying spiritual war. See through the deception and discover the root of the world's conflicts. A startling new book from the host of the Truth Seekers radio show, Soulless Society. Available on Amazon in softcover, Kindle ebook, and Audible. Visit www.soullesssociety.book.com.
Learn how thousands of smart homeowners are investing about $1 to avoid expensive home repair bills. John, a former non-customer, said, my air conditioner broke and I had to spend $1,900 to fix it. Jeff, a customer, wrote, my air conditioner broke and I got a new one at no out-of-pocket cost. Mary, a former non-customer, wrote, my heating system stopped running. I had to spend $3,000 to get a new one. Lisa, a customer, wrote, "My heater stopped working. I got it fixed at no out-of-pocket cost." For about $1 a day, you can have all the major appliances and systems in your home guaranteed fixed or replaced. Call now. If the lines are busy, please call back.
Call the Home Warranty Hotline now at 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. That's 800-238-9182.
You're listening to Truth Matters with Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie as we shed light and insight on the prevailing controversies, cover-ups, and conspiracies. We cover the political, cultural, monetary, media, and health sectors. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to Truth Matters. I'm Tom Donahue, my co-host Angeline Marie. In our final segment, we're going to continue our discussion from those disturbing clips about Erica Kirk. I don't know if we should even use that last name Kirk anymore based on some of what we're learning. And that's just my view on this. I've done some reporting. We've talked about Erica Kirk. And, I don't have to be in lockstep with anyone that I quote or anyone that I cover. Truth is truth, and it comes from a lot of different corners, a lot of different venues. And I don't agree with Candace Owens on a certain amount of things, but she's one of the very few that's actually trying to find out who murdered, Charlie Kirk, her dear friend, and they were very close friends as well as business associates. When someone can prove something to me with documentation, with the facts, not someone like Trump that says, oh, everything's a hoax, everything's fake, then I have to look at that and I have to take stock of that, regardless of the source. What's your thoughts on this, Angeline, based on the fact you found some of these clips?
Yeah, the other thing is, I don't know if you caught it, but she was talking about how this was the same time as Erica was involved in the charity Romanian Angels. And the more I find out about that charity, it is linked through her mother to the military and to a specific, I think it's a general who actually was in Romania accepting young girls for his own purposes and got caught. And they're linked to this guy. And so
we're going to have to do some more digging on that. And that could be another subject for another day. But there are ties to this. And also she claimed that she was doing this work with in China, too, that they now realize it was just a vacation. But she claims in her resume missionary work, which is ridiculous because it just never happened. Back to what we actually heard. Mm-hmm. This does seem to be a classic case of grooming. Even though it took a long time and maybe the final result didn't happen the way Erica wanted it. But what was your impression based on everything you've heard and read from those that the text messaging thread that Candace Owens put up on screen so people could actually see?
Well, I was shocked because she's always billed herself as a Christian, a strong Christian who was a Christian wife, and she talks Christianese. So, of course, when I first started hearing this stuff, I said, I don't know, I have to look into this. And Candace had the receipts right there for you to read on the screen. And this other girl did even more digging. And I was in, really, this whole thing had like lesbian overtones to it. And I think she must have glommed onto the fact that this girl was impressed with her and was taking advantage of that.
And also, this is prior to her meeting Charlie Kirk, not even realizing she would meet someone like that and be elevated to that world. So here she is, in the beauty pageant world, and yeah, she's a Christian, but she's, having fun. I talked about the music video that she was in with the skimpy shorts, and then she made an appearance on Summer House, which is actually Raunchy House. And so she was already like starting to get into the entertainment, beauty fashion world. And so all of a sudden, she's probably still trying to figure out who she is before she became who she supposedly was, being the wife of someone that was so prominent, a Christian, in his activism and his work, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. I don't think she ever realized that these things could come to the surface, and she probably tried to cover her tracks. But what do you think about that?
Well, I think when this was all going down, like you say, she never knew what her future was holding. But exactly. I definitely think there is a tie-in. I mean, who knows? Maybe Erica herself was groomed to do just this, because I think the irony is how close it is to the time that she was with this Romanian Angels, and the rumors that are swirling around that whole thing. There's another guy who's been doing reporting on it, and he talks a lot more about Erica, her mother, their tie not only to Romanian Angels in the military, but now he's bringing Epstein into the fold. So I'm really kind of interested to see what he has.
Well, that's a deep subject that we should tackle in the future. But I'm just focused, at least from this host's perspective, Erica Kirk and this unseemly, disgusting relationship she was trying to develop with this minor. And I almost lost for words as to to describe.
Well, maybe it was just an operation, Tom. I mean, maybe this was all part of her operation. I don't know.
To me, my impression, rather than being too conspiratorial, is that still young in her 20s, but not that young as the 15-year-old was, and that she was exploring, and she she had no idea she'd be the wife of Charlie Kirk, and so she was allowing her sexual desires and her fantasies to play out here in a very sick and demented way. So I think this is just like when we talk about people being opportunists versus being conspiratorial, plants. I don't think at this juncture, she was flirting with a lot of things in her life, but this was, beyond anything natural and normal of a flirtation.
Oh, yeah. And I took a screenshot of this text that was at the top of the feed that nobody mentioned. And I'm so mad at myself because I cannot find it. I wanted to read it verbatim, but basically, like I said, it was almost like this exchange where they were having, I don't want to say a fight, but
okay, well, you just brought that up again. Now, did Candace, when she talked to, it's a victim, really. It's a victim of manipulation and abuse, verbal and nearly physical abuse. What did she say in terms of how that relationship ended? Was there a falling out?
Well, apparently she's still talking to this girl. I think it's going to be an ongoing thing, but the girl, she said she doesn't really recall how the phone number thing exchange came up, but she says looking back in hindsight, she sees things wrong with it, but at the time she didn't understand it. And I think
there's no way a 15-year-old would understand how she was being manipulated. But so I guess we're going to find out more.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As to how this ended. And was this in or around the time soon after that she met Charlie, and then she had to get away from this part of her life? But this is just devastating to her character and her reputation, her resume and life story.
Yeah, and the other things, these are just side things with this girl that did the report, Nissy Social. She also had footage from when she was running for Miss Arizona, where they asked her, what do you think about the porn industry? And her answers were pretty shocking. At the time, she didn't see anything wrong with it. Women should, if they're making money at it, that's great. The only thing she said was that maybe, we should keep it from the kids. And then it's funny because then they put this part in there they asked about what's your feeling about legalizing marijuana. And of course she goes how it's good. If it makes people money,
she was trying to be politically correct, and she was trying to please the judges. But
my point is, who is she? That's
the bigger point. We don't know. We don't know who the real Erica Kirk is. We don't know how she's been influenced or manipulated. We don't know how much of it is her own decision making. I mean, this is a mystery that needs to be solved, just like her husband's murder.
Exactly.
So this is bringing up more questions than answers, but we know that this is, the Erica Kirk that she's trying to, put on display at Fox News, and Glenn Beck, whether it be a Glenn Beck or someone at Fox News, or, as soon as they hold on to a certain position or they've promoted somebody, they don't want to backpedal or backtrack.
You're right, Tom.
Because they want to say, they don't want to admit they're wrong. If I'm wrong with any of this or anything that I share, I'm more than willing and able to say, I got it wrong. But I want to stick with the facts, and that's why the truth matters here, and with you, my co-host, and with us, with our audience. That's it for this week. Tom Donahue, Angeline Marie, Truth Matters.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now at 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. That's 800-810-2191.
For every puppy purchased from a pet store or a breeder, a homeless dog at an animal shelter loses the chance of ever going for a romp in the park, chasing a ball, or feeling secure in a real home. Dogs and cats in shelters are waiting for someone kind to come along. So if you or anyone you know is ready for the responsibility of giving an animal a lifelong home full of patience, understanding, and respect, please adopt, don't shop. Visit PETA.org to learn more.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You're listening to Truth Matters with Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie as we shed light and insight on the prevailing controversies, cover-ups, and conspiracies. We cover the political, cultural, monetary, media, and health sectors.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.